When I was a freshman in college, I got meningitis. I went to bed at like midnight and I had a little bit of a headache. And then I woke up at like probably 3 a.m. and my head was pounding, so I took a bunch of Tylenol. A roommate woke me up and she was like, Daisy, you have to come to our biology class. Like, we're gonna have a pop quiz today. And my head was throbbing so bad, I like couldn't even open my eyes. They were like this. So I got out of bed, put a hat on, we walked to class, she got Starbucks, and I remember sitting at a park bench and I was like, my head has never hurt this bad in my life. And I got headaches a lot growing up. We got to class and I was sitting there with like my hat down, curled in a ball. I had sunglasses on, and all of a sudden I got this like shocking pain going down my spine when I tried to turn my head. I don't even know if I told my roommate I was leaving. I just like got up and walked out, and then I went to the doctor on campus. I must have looked like I was dying because when I walked in they were like, put a mask on, and this was before COVID. And then the nurse was asking me questions and she was like, can you bend your head? And I like tried to move and I was like, I can't. She leaves for a second and comes back and she goes, so we think you might have meningitis. You need to go to the hospital right now. Do you want me to call you an ambulance or can you Uber? In my head, I was like, I'm not going to the hospital right now. Like, I'm waiting for my roommate. Went back to my dorm room. Then all of a sudden, like, the pain was so physically bad. I called an Uber, went to the nearest hospital. That hospital told me I just had a migraine. So my roommate and her older brother came and picked me up. And then we just went back to our dorm room and I was just laying in my bed. All of a sudden, I physically could not move, like, any part of my body. So a guy that lived on my floor picked me up, carried me downstairs, and my roommate and her brother brought me to a different hospital. They brought me back, started running a bunch of tests, and I literally, like, I physically couldn't move and like barely open my eyes. Like, everything hurt so bad. Then a doctor comes back in and he's in like a full like hazmat suit and he's like, everyone has to clear this room besides you, and you, points at my doctor, my friend, and her brother. He said, we think she has meningitis, but you three have already been infected by now and we need to do a spinal tap. Make my roommate leave the room. Then there's like doctors, nurses holding me down. Meanwhile, they're like all gloved up. Every single movement I would make. So when they like turned me to do my spinal tap, like it was so much pain. And then I got a spinal tap, which that hurts really bad. Parents are in Minnesota, so my mom gets on a flight to come out to San Diego. My dad's on the phone and I'm like screaming my head off while they give me the spinal tap. And Christy and her brother are in the hallway hearing me scream my head off. Meanwhile, a guy like gets pulled by them on a gurney with like handcuffs on him and been like stabbed. There were like police officers by him. That's besides the point. I'm just trying to set the scene. And the culture they took grew back and it was meningitis, so they brought me up to the ICU and started treating me. I had 2 IVs going in each arm. I had monitors like all over my body. Everyone that came in the room was like completely gloved and masked up. They were giving me so much morphine and literally nothing would stop the pain. Never been in that much pain in my life. I literally thought I was going to die. And I'm sitting there and everything goes completely black. And I was like, I just died. Then I woke up and I was like completely naked, monitors all over me, and the doctors were like, you're okay, you just blacked out because your body's in so much pain. Like, that can happen. And when my mom gets there, before she can come in and see me, they sit her down and they tell her like I'm super sick and my white blood cell count is so high that there's a possibility I might not make it. It was crazy. Like every half an hour they were running my blood and I completely thought that I was gonna die. I flew in infectious disease doctors because I was a student at SDSU, so they were like, there's gonna be a huge like outbreak. And then people from SDSU like kept getting admitted, but the only way to test for meningitis is a spinal tap. And there were all these sorority girls just coming in and getting spinal taps because I had it. And the antibiotics and everything started working and I slowly started getting better. But you guys, I literally lost 17 pounds in 5 days. I went home and when my little sister hugged me, she thought I was gonna like snap in half. And I was so weak, I couldn't even walk up the steps or like walk like 10 feet. Then after I was home for like 3 days, because of all the antibiotics they had to give me, it killed all the good and bad bacteria in my body and I grew a giant infection inside my body and then I had to get readmitted. And then I was in the hospital for another week, but I made it. I didn't die. I'm here. But yeah, I was super lucky and I know that's not the case for everyone. So that's the time I almost died.